Given the Kickstarter goals, there are numerous other modes coming to the game as well. The first will be an entirely new campaign surrounding Risky Boots, where she will be playable, and this will be free to backers, but to everyone else it will be paid DLC. I will continue to review the series as updates come out, starting with the major ones, most likely the Risky Boots mode being first, so stay tuned. Pirate Queen's Quest is the next installment of the Shantae franchise, which I have raved so positively about towards the beginning of the year. Technically, this game is only an expansion to the Half-Genie Hero game, which came out last year. But, like the Shovel Knight expansions, while it utilizes the same levels and assets of the base game, it contains a brand new story and utilizes new gameplay mechanics. Pirate Queen's Quest stars Risky Boots instead of Shantae. In fact, this is the first time in the series that somebody other than Shantae has been a playable character. Risky is right up there with Shantae as a great and enjoyable character, and giving her own game was a great idea in my opinion. Actually, I might be starting to like Risky even more than Shantae. Maybe not. Risky is just a great character and a great rival for Shantae. Anyways, Pirate Queen's Quest is actually a retelling of Half-Genie Hero from Risky's perspective. She goes to the same levels and fights the same bosses, though some challenges are slightly altered. Unlike in Half-Genie Hero, you can pick to go to any level in any order. The story centers around Risky and her preparations to use the dynamo to stop Shantae for good, and she is collecting genie shards to access the genie realm. The expansion, of course, has the trademark Shantae fan service as well. I mean, Risky spends the entire game in between missions in the bathtub, and some of the dialogue is fairly sensual. Remember back in February I mentioned how much I love Tron Bonne as a character? Well, Risky is pretty much Tron. They're both leaders of pirate gangs, both act as antagonists in a series yet also got their own leading games, both are brilliant engineers, and both lead an army that they created, that being Tinkerbats and Servbots respectively. They even have the same hairline thing going on, so yeah, fan service. Though she doesn't have the butt wiggle nor dancing that Shantae have, so the gameplay fan service isn't quite there, but wait, what did she just say? Anyways, the gameplay follows the basic formula for a Shantae game. It's a 2D side-scroller, it still has the Metroidvania elements, though the backtracking through this excursion is at its absolute minimum. There are still boss fights, though the boss fights are here as the exact same that Shantae faces up until the very last boss, where you square up against Shantae herself. Why can't we do that when we play as her? Since this game uses the same levels and assets as Half-Genie Hero, you can look to that review for a more in-depth look at the level design and music. Different to Shantae is that Risky cannot learn or utilize dance moves or use items that Shantae can. Instead, Risky unlocks one of her pirate arsenal at the end of each level. This includes things like her hat, her cannon, and her pistol. All these items, as well as her health and cutlass, can be upgraded by finding dark magic laying around the various stages. These various pirate tools are very reminiscent of those in Pirate's Curse, in which Shantae was stripped of her magic and had to use Risky's weapons, and they are used in almost the exact same way as in Pirate's Curse. Each level contains various puzzles and platforming segments for you to conquer using the various pirate weapons at your disposal. Unfortunately, this means that there is some backtracking, but again, it isn't super obnoxious and there aren't as many collectibles in comparison to the main game. In addition to dark magic, you also must collect genie crystals. These are actually required to beat Pirate Queen's Quest, so you must find all of them. Gameplay-wise, I like the game. I mean, it's just an expansion to Half-Genie Hero, which I loved, but Risky's new abilities complement the game well, and it's just as fun as the main game. The repeat levels is expected, but I would have liked to see some new areas. It's very similar to, again, how Shovel Knight Plague of Shadows featured the same levels as Shovel of Hope, but featured a different story and different ways to platform. Pirate Queen's Quest is the same way. As a whole, I thought Pirate Queen's Quest was too easy. It took me between 2 and 3 hours to complete, and I didn't really struggle with any part of the game. To be fair, I found Half-Genie Hero to be really easy as well, but I wish there was still a bit more challenge to be had, or a hard mode which was added to Half-Genie Hero and alleviated some of how simple the game was, especially due to the fact that the DLC is $10, a little frustrating for how short it is with no new levels. Still, I had fun with it, and Risky was well implemented, but I would recommend waiting for a sale. I wouldn't say it's a mandatory entry in the series, but it is fun and worth playing if you're a fan of Shantae. WayForward announced a new DLC recently called Friends to the End, in which you play as Bolo, Sky, and Roddy Tops. Unlike Pirate Queen's Quest, which is an alternate retelling of the same story as Half-Genie Hero from Risky's point of view, Friends to the End takes place during Half-Genie Hero while Shantae is off on her adventures. I will of course be playing through that once it's released, so expect a review for that when it comes out next year.